Joined by Fox College football analyst Joel Klatt in studio. It's nice to have you
I love
here.
it. I love being here.
So excited.
I'm just here with all the New England tears raining down on us.
Right? That's what it feels like,
too,
right?
Listen, man, you guys, man.
Well, I'm just going by what he said.
I don't make the weather. I just report it. I'm looking outside. I don't know where else it could have come from. Good to see you.
You too, man. You too.
A lot going on in the NFL. Even more going on right now in college race.
Yeah.
Let's get to it. The college football playoff is set after a great weekend of action. Joe Burrow and the LSU Tigers will face off against Jalen Hurts and the Oklahoma Sooners in the Peach Bowl, while Justin Fields and Ohio State will take on Trevor Lawrence and Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl. So after a season of shuffling at the top, it is LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Clemson. Joel, did the committee get it right?
Yeah, I don't think that they had any way to get this wrong, right? Unless they were going to do something absolutely crazy with Georgia as a 2-loss non-champion over Oklahoma. I didn't think that was going to be the case whatsoever.
Joel might have resigned if that happened.
I think I would have. I think I would. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would have become a banker or something like that. I will say at number one, I think that there was a conversation and a pretty vigorous debate between Ohio State and LSU and what their resumes were. At the end of the day, I still was the one supporting Ohio State. I thought that they were more dominant over the ranked teams that they had played during the course of the year versus what LSU had done. But LSU's performance specifically on Saturday against Georgia, I think ultimately was the trump card in that room and what made them the #1 team in the country here going into the playoff.
I thought during the selection show, just to give them credit, I forget who it was, someone made a good point. So the argument for Ohio State was what they did in the second half against Wisconsin, blanking Wisconsin to come back.
Yeah, 27-0 run.
And the counterpoint was, and if it could have been 30-0, thanks to Ohio State punched the last one in, you'd have covered. But regardless, the counterpoint was, yeah, LSU didn't need a great second half because they had a great first half and a great second half. So I don't think that there's a wrong answer here. The way it shook out, did it shake out to give us the best semifinal, in your opinion?
I think that ultimately the #1 seed was so important this year because of this looming giant that has won 28 straight games. They're the defending national champion, and everyone was angling towards trying to avoid playing Clemson in the national semifinal because they still have Trevor Lawrence, who won the national championship a year ago. They still have Dabo Swinney. Their defense has played dominant football during the course of the year. This is a team that, candidly, they might win it all still, you know, because someone's got to go out there and actually beat them and end this 28-game winning streak if they're going to take down a national championship. So that's why I thought there was so much angling going on. If you wanted to talk about Saturday, and yes, Ohio State did not play well in the first half, that's all well and good, but Ohio State never gave up 400 yards rushing to a bad Ole Miss team, right? So, you know, at some point, you got to take in the whole body of work. Like I said, I had no problem with what they did, LSU at #1, but just to boil it down to one day, one half, and say this is why you're #1, this is one of the reasons why I bristle with the committee and this 13-member, avenue of ranking teams. But ultimately, this is a really good 4 teams, and let's come to a bottom line conclusion here. I'm so glad we have a playoff. You know, the BCS would have left Clemson out.
The defending national champion
has
won 20, and anyone who argued against the playoff has to reckon with for back-to-back years, right?
That's right.
An undefeated team would have been left out. Like, you can say whether we need 4, 6, 8, whatever, but at 2, it would have been this year. You would have either pick who gets left out. The SEC champ with the Heisman Trophy winner, who arguably has the best resume. The Big Ten undefeated champ with the best player in the country, I think, in the pass rusher, Chase Young. And some would say the best resume. Or the defending national champion, who ever since getting tested by UNC has just crushed the world and won 28 straight. One of those teams would have been told, you don't get to prove you're the national champion.
And it would have been Clemson, based on the calculation.
Which is crazy, but I mean, Clemson just sleepwalks through the ACC schedule. I mean, I'm an ACC guy, so I keep a close eye on it, and they demolished my Virginia Cavaliers in the ACC championship game on Saturday night in Charlotte. But you were talking about them and talking about how dynamic Trevor Lawrence is.
Yeah.
But on the defensive side of the ball, it's been a little Jekyll and Hyde for that Clemson team this year. I know know they're ranked up there again this year, but for Brett Venables with this group, where does this Clemson defense stack up with Clemson defenses in the past couple of years?
Well, it's so different, and if you look at what they were strong at and where they were strong a year ago, they were so great at the line of scrimmage. You think of all those guys in the NFL right now, right? I mean, the Christian Wilkins and so on and so forth, Dexter Lawrence, they were so strong up front, all Americans all across the defensive line. Now you've got a defense that is much stronger in the second level and the third level. So they're a secondary-oriented team. They follow Isaiah Simmons at the linebacker position. I think that's difficult because from a year-to-year shift, they've had to completely change where they're strong, how they develop pressure, how they stop the run, what they're going to do. And so what you saw, at least in my estimation, is a team that didn't really understand how to play early. They were trying to figure themselves out. They were able to do that because they were bored with that ACC schedule. But then late in the season, they started playing better and better and better. Lawrence was bored early in the season, was turning the football over, played better and better and better towards the end of the season. And now, here they are. They've been bored all year, very untested, and yet they're the defending national champ, 28 games in a row. I think it's going to be tough to beat Clemson. I really do. Even if it's Ohio State and Phoenix, that's a tough game for Ohio State.
So you like Clemson in that game?
I'm not sure who I'm going to pick just yet. I think it's a flip for me, and I'm a pretty staunch. I believe in Ohio State. I saw them 7 times, for goodness sakes. I need an apartment in Columbus at this point. For me, it's a coin flip. I think Ohio State has been a great team. I think Clemson is a great team. I think Vegas is going to favor Clemson. I think
it opened by 1, it moved up to 2.5, and now it's back around 1.5.
So they're right there, about a flip. It's going to be so interesting because Trevor Lawrence is this generational talent at the quarterback position, and we've got this great pass rusher from Ohio State who has been double and triple teamed now for 2 straight games. Did you see some of those videos of what Wisconsin was doing? Yeah. 4 guys just sitting on Chase Young. I can't wait to watch that play out. I think it's a coin flip. I think it actually comes down to the inexperienced quarterback for Ohio State. If Justin Fields plays well, I think Ohio State will have a great chance to win.
What about the other game, LSU and Oklahoma?
I mean, I've seen Oklahoma a bunch this year as well, and they're just not what they have been the last couple of years. I don't believe that defense is going to be able to do to LSU what they were able to do to Baylor. I mean, Baylor was playing with a backup quarterback, a third-string quarterback for portions of that game in the Big 12 championship game, and LSU is going to carve them up. I really like Oklahoma had a good year. It's great that they're in the playoff. They're kind of a placeholder. We were all waiting for okay, who's the number 4 team? It's going to be. It was almost Oklahoma by default. Utah said no thanks. Oregon said no thanks against Arizona State, and now Oklahoma's going to have to go play LSU. That's going to be really tough. And this whole playoff, by the way, is just playing into LSU's hands. They're going to be able to play in Atlanta where they just played. Then, if they win, most likely win against Oklahoma, they get basically a home game for the national championship, and they'll be able to play in New Orleans for the national championship against either Clemson or Ohio State.
Do you like LSU?
He's not going to give his pick.
Overall, I'm not sure.
He has to. That's what it says on the sheet. It says, ask Joel about his pick.
LSU over Oklahoma, yes.
Okay. All right, so you really know.
Oklahoma in the playoff.
Any of these 3, I think, would beat Oklahoma. There's no doubt. I think because of New Orleans, if I had to lay money today in Vegas, I would lay money on LSU.
I told you the sheet said he was going to do it.
So. Before we go, if I may, just real quick.
Yeah.
This has been, I think, the single best year for Fox in college football. The pregame show, you and Gus doing these great games. You have been such a huge part of it.
Oh, I appreciate that.
It's been a monster as far as people watching it and the quality of games, and you and Gus are the best tandem in the business.
Oh, man, that's nice of you. I feel normally we argue more. Like this.
We don't have to worry about it.
That's nice of you.
To get into the fact
Thank you very much.
Playoff with 4 home games.
A lot of hard work. A lot of people put in a lot of hard work.
You guys have done an amazing job.
Thank you.
We loved having you here in studio, Joel. Thanks so much.
It's always good. You bet, Jenna.
Coming up, how worried should the Patriots be about Tom Brady? That's next on First Things
They should be worried.
No,
Joel, can you come out of retirement?
I don't need to. He's the greatest of all time.